Welcome to Football Dreams. Tonight, we tell the story of Real Madrid, a club born from university students, built on elegance, defined by an impossible standard. Settle in, let the story unfold, and sleep well. The story begins in white. In 1902, Madrid was a city finding its identity. Spain's capital, yes, but not yet its heart. The king lived in a palace on a hill. Students walked cobblestone streets beneath gas lamps. And on Sunday afternoons, a group of them played football in an empty field. They called themselves Madrid Football Club. Simple, direct. The name of their city and nothing more. There were no grand ambitions in those early days. No declarations of future greatness. Just young men with a leather ball and a patch of grass they called their own. They wore white, not because of symbolism or tradition, but because white fabric was cheap, available, practical for students without money. But that white would come to mean everything. The founder was Juan Padros, a Catalan studying in Madrid. He'd seen football played in England and France, brought the game back to Spain's capital, gathered friends who were curious enough to try. At first, they played among themselves, small matches, a dozen spectators if they were lucky. The rules were loose, the organization looser, but football, once planted, grows quickly. By 1905, Madrid Football Club had joined Spain's nascent football federation. They played other clubs from across the country, won some matches, lost others, began to build something resembling a reputation. The city of Madrid was changing too, growing, modernizing. The early 1900s brought electricity, automobiles, telephones, a sense that Spain, long isolated from the rest of Europe, was waking up. Football became part of that awakening, a sport from abroad that Spaniards could claim as their own. In 1920, everything changed. King Alfonso XIII, a man who loved sport and spectacle, granted the club a royal decree. Madrid Football Club became Real Madrid. Real meaning royal. The crown was added to the crest. The club suddenly carried the weight of patronage. It was an honor, but also a burden. To be called royal meant you were expected to act accordingly, with dignity, with success, with style. Real Madrid in the 1920s were decent. They won the Copa del Rey in 1905, 1906, 1907 and 1908. 4 consecutive victories. Their first golden era. But after that, the success came sporadically. A cup here, a league title there. They were good, never great. By the 1930s, Spanish football had grown more competitive. Barcelona, Athletic Bilbao, Atletico Madrid. Every club wanted dominance. Real Madrid wanted it too, but couldn't quite grasp it. Then came war. The Spanish Civil War began in 1936. It tore the country apart. Brother against brother, ideology against ideology. Cities destroyed, families shattered. Football stopped, stadiums emptied. Some fought, others fled. The club's president was killed by Republican forces. The war consumed everything. When it ended in 1939, Spain was exhausted. Francisco Franco ruled with an iron fist. The country was isolated, poor, scarred. Real Madrid, like the nation, had to rebuild. But this time, they wouldn't settle for being good. They would become something the world had never seen. In 1943, a man named Santiago Bernabeu was elected president of Real Madrid. He'd been a player in the 1910s and 1920s, a defender, disciplined, intelligent. He understood the game not just as sport, but as spectacle. Bernabeu looked at Real Madrid and saw potential buried under mediocrity. He saw a club with royal patronage, but no royal performance. A club with history, but no legend. He decided to change that. Not gradually, not carefully, completely. His vision was simple. Build the greatest stadium in the world. Sign the greatest players. Win everything. Make Real Madrid synonymous with excellence. Most thought he was insane. Spain was broke after the war. Europe was rebuilding from World War II. How could a Spanish club compete with the wealth of England, Italy, France? Bernabeu didn't care about limitations, he cared about vision, and he had one that was crystal clear. In 1944, he began planning a new stadium, not a renovation, a complete rebuild. Where the old Chamartín Stadium stood, he would create something that matched his ambition. Construction began in 1947. It took years. Money was tight, resources scarce. But Bernabeu pushed, fundraised, convinced skeptics, refused to compromise. By 1947, the stadium opened. It held 75,000 people, bigger than anything in Spain, modern, elegant, a statement in concrete and steel that Real Madrid was no longer content with being merely good. They called it Estadio Chamartín at first. Later, after Bernabeu's death, it would be renamed in his honor. But from the moment it opened, it was his cathedral, and he was building a religion around it. The stadium was ready. What Real Madrid needed now were profits. Bernabeu looked beyond Spain, to Argentina, where football was played with flair and intelligence, to Hungary, where tactical innovation thrived, to France, where elegance mattered as much as results. In 1953, he made the signing that would define everything: Alfredo Di Stefano, a forward from Argentina playing for Millonarios in Colombia, blonde, graceful, ruthless in front of goal. Di Stefano wasn't just a striker, he was a complete player. He could defend, create, finish. He read the game 3 moves ahead. He demanded perfection from everyone around him. The transfer was complicated. Barcelona thought they'd signed him too. A dispute erupted. The Spanish Football Federation intervened. Eventually, Real Madrid secured him. It was the most important signing in the club's history. With Di Stefano, Real Madrid transformed. They didn't just play football, they performed it. Every match was a demonstration of what the game could be when played by someone who understood its geometry. In 1954, Real Madrid won La Liga, their first league title in 2 decades. It was validation, but Di Stefano wanted more. Bernabeu wanted more. Europe was the prize, and in 1955, Europe created the perfect stage, the European Cup. A new tournament for the continent's champions. 16 teams, knockout rounds, a final that would crown one club as the best in Europe. Real Madrid entered, and they would never truly leave. The first European Cup in 1956 was held in Paris. Real Madrid faced Stade de Reims of France in the final. Reims took an early lead, went up 2-0. It looked like Real Madrid's European dream would end before it truly began. But Di Stefano didn't panic. He scored, then he orchestrated another, then another. Real Madrid won 4-3, their first European Cup. Di Stefano scored twice. The Parc des Princes erupted, and back in Madrid, the city celebrated like they'd won independence. But this wasn't the end. It was the beginning. Real Madrid defended their European crown in 1957, at home in Madrid, against Fiorentina of Italy. Di Stefano scored again. Real Madrid won 2-0. 2 consecutive European Cups, unprecedented. In 1958, they did it again, in Brussels, against AC Milan, 3-2 after extra time. Di Stefano, relentless, orchestrated everything. 3 consecutive European Cups. No club had ever done this. No club had even conceived of it. In 1959, they won their 4th, in Stuttgart, against Reims again, 2-0. Di Stefano scored both goals. 4 consecutive European Cups. It was becoming absurd, impossible. But Real Madrid made it look inevitable. Bernabeu watched from the stands, arms folded, expression calm. But inside, he must have felt something close to vindication. His vision was no longer vision, it was reality. But he wasn't satisfied. He wanted 5. He wanted to make a statement so emphatic that no one could ever erase it. In 1958, Hungary's revolution had failed. Soviet tanks rolled into Budapest. The national team, one of the greatest in history, scattered across Europe. Among them was Ferenc Puskás, left foot like a cannon, vision like a chess master, 31 years old, overweight. Many said he was finished. Bernabeu signed him anyway, not because he was cheap, but because he recognized genius when he saw it. Puskás arrived in Madrid in 1958. Skeptics mocked. He was too old, too slow, too far past his prime. They were catastrophically wrong. Puskás lost weight, found his rhythm, and by 1960 he was one of the most dangerous players in Europe. Real Madrid entered the 1960 European Cup final against Eintracht Frankfurt with something to prove. Not to Europe already knew, but to history. To claim a 5th consecutive title. To do something that could never be repeated. The final was held at Hampton Park in Glasgow. 127,000 people filled the stadium, the largest crowd ever to watch a European Cup final. They came expecting greatness. They witnessed something beyond it. Real Madrid won 7-3. It wasn't just a victory, it was an exhibition, a masterpiece played in real time. Stefano scored a hat-trick. Puskas scored 4. Every goal was a work of art. Quick passes, intelligent movement, finishing so clinical it looked rehearsed. The crowd stood and applauded. Not just Madrid's fans, everyone. Even Frankfurt supporters, because what they'd witnessed wasn't just football, it was football at its absolute zenith. Newspapers across Europe struggled for words. The greatest match ever played. A symphony in white. Perfection. Real Madrid had won 5 consecutive European Cups. 5! An achievement that has never been matched, never even approached. And they did it with style, with elegance, with a philosophy that winning mattered, yes, but how you won mattered just as much. The 1960s brought inevitable change. Stefano aged, his legs slowed. Puskás too began to fade. Time, the only opponent no one defeats, came for them both. Real Madrid won the European Cup again in 1966, their 6th. But the dominance of the late 50s and early 60s was over. Other clubs rose. Ajax of Amsterdam with their total football, Bayern Munich with Franz Beckenbauer, Liverpool with their relentless efficiency. Real Madrid remained good, won La Liga regularly, but Europe, their kingdom, belonged to others now. The 1970s were transitional. Real Madrid had good teams, talented players, but no transcendent figures, no one who could carry them back to European glory. They reached finals, lost them, and won domestically but struggled continually. The 1980s brought a resurgence, a team built around Spanish talent, Emilio Butragueño, Michel, Martín Vázquez. They called them La Quinta del Buitre, the Vultures cohort. They won 5 consecutive La Liga titles from 1986 to 1990, dominated Spain, but Europe remained elusive. In 1998, Real Madrid won the Champions League for the first time in 32 years, their 7th European Cup. It felt like coming home after a long exile. Predrag Mijatovic scored the only goal against Juventus. The Bernabeu erupted. The city celebrated for days. But this was just the setup, because what came next would redefine the club once again. In 2000, Florentino Perez was elected president, a businessman, ambitious, wealthy, and he had a plan. The Galacticos. Sign the best player in the world every summer. Build a team of superstars. Make Real Madrid not just a football club, but a global brand. In 2000, they signed Luis Figo from Barcelona. It was a betrayal that shocked Spain. Figo, Barcelona's captain, wearing white. Unthinkable. But Real Madrid made it happen. In 2001, Zinedine Zidane arrived from Juventus for a world record fee. The French playmaker, elegant, effortless, untouchable with the ball at his feet. In 2002, Ronaldo, the Brazilian phenomenon, the best striker on the planet, recovering from injury but still unstoppable. In 2003, David Beckham from Manchester United, the global icon, marketing phenomenon, England captain. He brought more than goals. He brought attention, merchandising, a fan base that stretched from London to Tokyo. The Galacticos were supposed to be unstoppable. On paper, they were. In reality, they were complicated. They won La Liga in 2001 and 2003, but the Champions League, the trophy Perez wanted most, was elusive. In 2002, they won it. Zidane scored a volley against Bayer Leverkusen in the final. One moment of perfection. The ball hung in the air, Zidane's left foot met it perfectly, and it rocketed into the top corner. That goal became iconic, replayed millions of times. A single moment that justified the entire Galactico project. But after that, the trophies dried up. The team was brilliant individually, disjointed collectively. Too many stars, not enough balance, defensive weaknesses, egos clashing. By 2006, the first Galactico era was over. Perez resigned. The team was aging. The philosophy had failed to deliver sustained success. But Real Madrid learned. They always learn. In 2009, Florentino Perez returned as president. This time he built differently. Superstars, yes, but with a plan, with structure. He signed Cristiano Ronaldo from Manchester United for a world record £80 million. Kaká from Milan, Karim Benzema from Lyon, Xabi Alonso from Liverpool. But the real key was finding the right manager, someone who could handle egos, give freedom, but demand excellence. In 2013, Carlo Ancelotti arrived. Italian, calm, respected. He understood that Real Madrid players didn't need control, they needed trust. Ancelotti let Ronaldo hunt goals, let Luka Modric orchestrate from midfield, let Sergio Ramos defend and attack in equal measure. He gave them structure, but not a cage. And it worked. In 2014, Real Madrid won their 10th European Cup, La Decima, the one they'd been chasing for 12 years. The final was against Atletico Madrid, their city rivals, at the Estadio de Luz in Lisbon. Atletico led 1-0 deep into injury time. It looked over. But Sergio Ramos rose for a corner, headed it in, 1-1. Extra time. Real Madrid exploded. Gareth Bale, Marcelo, Ronaldo, 4-1. The 10th European Cup. The Bernabeu celebrated like they'd won their first, not their 10th. Because La Decima wasn't just a trophy, it was proof that Madrid's mystique was real. Ancelotti left after one more season. Rafa Benitez came and went. And then, in January 2016, Zinedine Zidane became manager. Zidane the player had been elegant, brilliant, iconic. Zidane the manager was something else. Calm, unflappable. He understood Real Madrid's DNA because it was his DNA. He didn't overthink, didn't micromanage. He simply told his players, "You're Real Madrid, act like it." In 2016, Real Madrid won the Champions League. Against Atletico again. Penalties this time. Ronaldo scored the winning kick. In 2017, they won it again. Against Juventus, Ronaldo scored twice. In 2018, they won it again. Against Liverpool, Bale scored an overhead kick for the ages. 3 consecutive Champions League titles. The first team to do it in the modern era. Unprecedented. Historic. Zidane had matched the five-peat in spirit, if not in sequence. Then he walked away, retired at the peak. Ronaldo left for Juventus. The team needed rebuilding. The next few years were turbulent. Zidane returned, then left again. Managers cycled through. The team won La Liga in 2020, but struggled in Europe. And then came 2022, the year that defied all logic. Real Madrid shouldn't have won the Champions League that year. On paper, they were underdogs in every knockout round. Against Paris Saint-Germain in the round of 16, they were losing on aggregate with half an hour left. Then Karim Benzema scored 3 goals in 17 minutes. 3-1. Impossible became inevitable. Against Chelsea in the quarter-final, same story, losing. Then Rodrigo scored twice. Benzema finished it in extra time. Against Manchester City in the semi-final, it happened again. Down 1-0 on aggregate, 5 minutes left. Rodrigo scored twice in 90 seconds. The Bernabeu erupted. Extra time, Benzema penalty, through to the final. In the final against Liverpool, Thibaut Courtois saved everything. Every shot, every chance. Vinicius Jr. scored once. 1-0. 14th European Cup. It was classic Real Madrid. Improbable, impossible, but somehow always inevitable. What is it about this club? Why do they win when they shouldn't? Some call it luck, others destiny. Real Madrid call it history. When you wear white at the Bernabeu, you carry ghosts. Stefano, Puskás, Zidane, Ronaldo, Ramos. Every player who's ever triumphed in that stadium. Every impossible comeback. Every trophy lifted under those lights. That weight should crush. Instead, it lifts. Real Madrid's philosophy is simple. Europe is ours, has always been ours, will always be ours. It's arrogance, but it's also faith. And when an entire club believes something deeply enough, opponents start to believe it too. The Bernabeu itself feels different on European nights. The crowd doesn't just support. They demand, they expect, they know. When Madrid are losing, the stadium doesn't panic. It hums, low, expectant, certain, waiting for what always comes. And the players feel it, that hum, that certainty, and they respond. Is it mysticism? Maybe. Psychology? Probably. But it's real. Opponents have spoken of it. Managers describe it. A feeling that Real Madrid, even when losing, are somehow still winning. Real Madrid have won more European Cups than any club in history. 15. More than twice any other team. The gap isn't just numerical, it's philosophical. Other clubs treat Europe as an achievement. Real Madrid treat it as an obligation. Other clubs hope to win, Madrid expect to. Other clubs celebrate reaching finals. Madrid only celebrate winning them. This creates pressure, enormous, crushing pressure. But pressure, when embraced, becomes fuel. Players who crumble under that weight don't last. Those who thrive become legends. The modern era brings new challenges. Financial fair play, super teams funded by oil states, competition fiercer than ever. But Real Madrid adapt. They always adapt. In 2024, they signed Kylian Mbappé, the French superstar, the best player of his generation. Another Galactico, another statement. The cycle continues. Sign the best, demand excellence, win in Europe. Will it work? History suggests it will. Because Real Madrid don't just buy players, they absorb them, transform them, make them part of something larger than themselves. Ronaldo spoke of it once, the pressure at Real Madrid to score every game, win every trophy, never ever settle for anything less than perfection. That pressure broke some players. The ones who survived became immortal. What does Real Madrid mean to football? They're not universally beloved. Their arrogance alienates. Their success breeds resentment. Smaller clubs despise them. Rival fans mock them. But they're respected, even by enemies. Because Real Madrid represents something pure about sport. The belief that excellence is non-negotiable. That style matters as much as results. That history is not a burden, but a springboard. They play in white, simple, clean, unforgiving. Every mistake is visible. Every triumph is amplified. When Real Madrid step onto the pitch at the Bernabeu under the lights, it's not just a match, it's a ritual, a continuation of something that started over a century ago. The anthem plays, the players walk out, the crowd rises, And for 90 minutes, the only thing that matters is whether you're worthy of that shirt. Many have worn it, most have succeeded, a few have become myths. Stefano, Puskás, Gento, Zidane, Ronaldo, Ramos, Modric, Benzema. Names that will echo long after the stadiums crumble. Real Madrid will struggle sometimes. Every club does. Seasons without trophies, rebuilds, transitions, managers who don't work out, signings that disappoint. But the philosophy remains. The standard remains unchanged. And when the next generation of players walks into the Bernabeu for the first time, they'll feel it. That weight pressing down, that expectation wrapping around them, that impossible, beautiful burden of being Real Madrid. Some clubs are built on passion, others on community, others on money. Real Madrid is built on something harder to define. Call it mystique, call it destiny, call the weight of 15 European Cups pressing down until it becomes wings. The story of Real Madrid isn't finished, it never will be. As long as there's a European competition, Madrid will hunt it. As long as there's a player who dreams of greatness, Madrid will sign him. As long as there's a stadium demanding the impossible, the Bernabeu will stand. Because Real Madrid is not a team that plays football, it is a team that embodies football. It is the mirror the game holds up to itself. The ideal every other club quietly measures against, even when they pretend not to. Every era in football has had its heroes, but every era, when you trace the lines back, eventually bends towards Madrid. When the floodlights rise over the Bernabeu and the anthem begins, the air thickens. The crowd stands not in excitement, but in recognition. They've seen this before. They know what's coming. It's a ritual older than most of the men on the pitch. An inheritance that travels through generations, through languages, through time zones and decades. From Stefano's golden boots to Benzema's quiet brilliance, from Zidane's volley to Ramos's header, each moment joins a cathedral of memory. Every pass, every comeback, every trophy. Built brick by brick, victory by victory, until the myth became muscle. Real Madrid's players talk about it often, though never easily. They describe a feeling, a pulse in the stadium floor, a certainty when the crowd begins to chant. It's not noise, it's pressure, but not the kind that crushes, the kind that sharpens. When the world watches, Madrid plays differently. Even opponents sense it. Managers have said that when Madrid goes behind, they still feel ahead. Because everyone knows how these stories end. The Bernabeu doesn't allow tragedy. It edits it, turns despair into momentum, fear into fury, doubt into inevitability. That's what makes Madrid different. Most clubs live for the next trophy. Madrid lives for the moment between trophies, the chase, the tension, the silence before the storm. When they lose, it feels temporary. When they win, it feels eternal. Ask their rivals, they'll tell you it's arrogance. Maybe it is, but arrogance built on proof becomes something else. It becomes identity. 15 European Cups, more than any other club by double. A record so absurd it stops being a statistic and becomes folklore. Other clubs see Europe as a goal. Real Madrid sees it as a responsibility, an obligation to history itself. Because when you wear white, every mistake is visible. There is nowhere to hide. The color shows everything: flaws, fatigue, failure. And yet they choose it. Always have. That is the paradox of Madrid. The beauty and the burden are the same thing. You can see it in their legends. Stefano, the architect. Puskás, the cannon. Gento, the wind itself. Zidane, grace turned into geometry. Cristiano Ronaldo, obsession made flesh. Modric, the rhythm that never stops. Benzema, the quiet killer. Every one of them carried the same demand. Play beautifully, win completely. Anything less is failure. It sounds cruel, but that cruelty is the secret. Because perfection doesn't exist, and Real Madrid has spent more than a century trying to reach it anyway. That chase, that endless refusal to settle, is why they remain at the summit long after logic says they shouldn't. Even when the era changes, when the money shifts, when new powers rise, Madrid endures. Because they understand something most modern clubs forget. Success isn't built on resources, it's built on ritual. Every young player who walks into the Bernabeu's tunnel feels it. The photographs on the wall, the echo of boots, the silence before the crowd begins. It's not welcome, it's warning. This is Real Madrid. Excellence is not optional. Some adapt, a few transcend, and those few, the ones who thrive under that impossible standard, join something eternal. Not a team, a lineage. When Modric lifts his head to play a pass, he's not just seeing teammates. He's seeing shadows, Stefano finding space, Zidane pivoting, Kroos waiting wide. Every modern pass connects to a ghost of perfection. That's why Real Madrid rarely talk about rebuilding. They talk about continuation. Because the story doesn't reset with generations, it flows. From Bernabeu's steel vision to Perez's galactic ambition, the current never stops. Different names, same current. There's a reason they call it the Madridismo. It isn't fandom, it's faith. A belief that no matter the scoreline, the century, or the chaos around them, Madrid will rise. And somehow, they always do. In 2022, when logic said they should have fallen, they rose again. Against Paris, against Chelsea, against Manchester City, the same pattern repeated like prophecy. Down, doomed, then delivered. Rodrigo's goals, Benzema's calm, Courtois' impossible saves. Moments that should never have happened, but did. Because Real Madrid believes in inevitability, and belief is contagious. When Vinicius scored in the final, it wasn't just a goal. It was inheritance, another chapter in a story already too big to contain. And that's the strange beauty of Madrid. Their history is both anchor and sail. It holds them down, but it carries them forward. Fans of other clubs often ask, why them? Why always Madrid? And maybe the answer is simple, because they refuse to accept anything else. Every player who signs knows what's expected. Not hope, not effort, victory, always victory. And yet, there's humility beneath the grandeur, because Madrid understands that their dominance is borrowed, that history only stays if you keep earning it. That's why even after triumphs, they begin again. The next season, the next Champions League. No parade lasts forever, but the pursuit does. Bernabeu once said, Real Madrid will never die because it is not made of men, it is made of ideals. He was right. Ideals do not age, they are inherited. And tonight, as the lights fade across the stadium, that ideal rests, only to awaken again tomorrow. Picture the Bernabeu empty after a match, the seats still warm, the grass scarred by 90 minutes of battle, echoes still drifting through the rafters. That's when the magic feels most alive, in the quiet after the storm. Because Real Madrid is not defined by noise, but by what remains when the noise ends. A stillness, a certainty, a whisper that says, we will return. Generations have come and gone, dictators, wars, revolutions, super leagues, pandemics, and still the club endures. Always adapting, always wearing white. It is the eternal loop of ambition, the belief that no matter what changes in the world, the pursuit of greatness must not. And so, Real Madrid plays on. For the children in distant countries wearing their shirts to school. For the veterans in Madrid cafes who still talk about Stefano like he played yesterday. For the young players who touch the crest and feel the chill of its weight. It isn't just football, it's memory dressed as motion. When the camera pans across the Bernabeu before kickoff, you're not looking at a stadium. You're looking at a monument to obsession, to the idea that excellence, once achieved, must be defended forever. The story of Real Madrid is not about trophies. It's about time and what humanity can achieve when it refuses to forget. They have outlasted regimes, styles, empires, and billion-dollar projects. And still, when the anthem begins, you can feel it. That hum in the air. A sound that says, history is watching. Every goal they score is a message to the past. We heard you. We remember. We're still worthy. The story of Real Madrid isn't finished. It can't be. Because the moment it ends, football itself loses its mirror. So tonight, as you close your eyes, imagine the floodlights of the Bernabeu dimming one by one. The grass breathing under the night air. The white shirts folded away, waiting for tomorrow. Somewhere, a child dreams of scoring there. Somewhere else, a veteran dreams of watching one more match. And somewhere, across oceans and time zones, a voice whispers the same words it always has. We are Real Madrid. Born from students, built on elegance, defined by the impossible. The anthem fades, the night settles, and the dream continues. Thank you for dreaming with us tonight. This has been the story of Real Madrid, the greatest club in European history, the heartbeat of football itself. And now, as the echoes fade and the lights dim, sleep well.